Welcome back, sports fans. You've got Billy, Cade, and our special guest today, Zoe Cadman. Zoe is in sunny California, joining us today from Monrovia after a hard-fought day at the racetrack, I'm sure. But Zoe has an interesting background I'm going to share real quick, and then we'll jump in. But Zoe was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, spent many years in England, where she kind of got her boots dirty, so to speak, at some, now they call them yards over there, I guess. I hope I pronounce that. You know, we call them ranches or farms. But she spent years in Newmarket, kind of deciding that she wanted to go into a career as a jockey. She moved to the States, and she rode at tracks in Illinois, like Arlington, Sportsman Park, moved her tack to fairgrounds in Louisiana. All in all, she had a nice career. She had over close to 3,000 starts, 2,900 starts almost, and had 311 wins. I think I got that right. And nearly 7 million in purse earnings. And today, Zoe has traded in her saddle for a microphone, and she is the host analyst at XBTV. You're going to have to tell us about that. And she's a racing liaison for Eaton Sales Company. Thoroughbreds. She's in the thoroughbred business. She rolls around with the highfalutin money, and so she's connected. Let's just say that. Zoe, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I probably need to get on and update my wherever you got all that from, because it's a little out of date.
Oh, yeah?
We'll start with XBTV right now. They actually just rebranded. It's now First TV, which is a new thing, so I can be forgiven for that. It's still known as XBTV to the layman, but it's now First TV, a subsidiary of First Racing. So that's fun.
First
but
TV,
for the most
is
part,
that primarily, that's all horse racing?
Yeah, that would be the workouts, which was XBTV. And then I'd work for Santanita and do the simulcast for them. But it's all under the First umbrella. They're just trying to make everything the same. So everything is First, which makes sense.
Sure. So your day is, are you work 5 days a week, 7?
5 days a week. I'm kind of off today. Was off yesterday. So today is just kind of a prep day for the weekend. And tomorrow too, I get to work from home. Life is good. I'm not complaining. I get to work at Santanita, one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world, which I absolutely love. I get to travel a lot for work. I also do some freelance stuff with a friend of mine, Marette Farrell, which takes me to most of the yearling and 2-year-old sales and the November sales and help her buy some horses. So we've had success doing that. What else do I do? I do a podcast every week, the TDN Writers Room, with Randy Moss from NBC and Bill Finley.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a lot of fun. We get to go down some rabbit holes and just discuss the week's racing. I stay pretty busy.
Do you guys have different guests on your show, or do you just
Yeah.
3 of you talk, or you?
Yeah, yesterday we had Dave Anderson talking about what's happening in Canada or not happening with the tariffs. It sounds like an absolute shit show up there, if I'm being honest. I'm glad I'm not Canadian, because none of it sounds good. We were talking about, for example, he was part owner of Moira. She sold for $4.3 million at the FASIC sale. Now, if the 25% tariffs have been in place then, they've got to pay a tariff of $1.25 million. It's ridiculous.
To send a signal?
To send her home.
Wow. Oh, the horse.
The horse.
Oh, I thought you were talking. Okay, I've got you now. Send the horse home.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was very interesting conversation with Dave yesterday, because he's quite outspoken. So we like that.
That's interesting. I had no idea. It was applying to horses as well.
Oh, yeah. Crossing the border. The tariffs on everything. You give us the tariff, we're going to double up. It's stupid.
Is that the same? Did he make comment about horses that are going from the States to Canada? Do they have a similar?
I think you have 30 days right now, going backwards and forwards. So it's going to affect the racing at Woodbine this coming meet, because Mark Cassidy already said that he's probably going to send half of what he usually sends up there. It's just not good. They're trying to figure out a way around it all, but none of it's good.
Yeah, so for the horse racing fans, you'll kind of understand this talk. For the non-horse racing fans, you stay hooked because you're going to learn some things
Well,
today.
they understand too because everything's being tariffed. You like whiskey, you like good wine, you're getting tariffed on that. It's not just horse racing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
It's
understand you
affecting.
do like a lot of wine, Zoe, so maybe that's going to impact you a little bit.
I mean, they're yet to put a tariff on Heineken beer, so I think I'll
Damn,
be okay for now.
that would really bother you, I'm sure. Heineken, that's a good beer, though.
It's a
What's
very
this?
good beer.
What's the story with Stronach up there? Is that I've heard rumors that they're thinking about unwinding their exposure to the racetracks. Is that true?
First racing.
Is that what it's called now?
Yeah,
Stronach?
it's first racing, and um, I that's up to them. I just work for them. We've talked about the decoupling going on in Florida, and that's got to go through all the political arms and legs that it can go through.
Yeah,
And we'll see what happens.
I'm not sure if these tariffs are impacting those decisions, but they own how many tracks still across the
Strona?
U.S.? Is it just Santa Anita
First
and Gulfstream?
racing would be Santa Anita. The main ones would be Santa Anita and Gulfstream.
Right.
So,
What kind of events do you guys hold there at Santa Anita? Are you involved in any racing type events to get new fans involved?
we try and have something every weekend. This weekend, it's going to be fried chicken, the fried chicken smorgasbord. Some of the major big events that they've put on have been the inception of the Pegasus World Cup that's every January at Gulfstream Park, and that's been phenomenal. It took a few years to really take hold, but it's turned out to be a really big day of racing. And now we introduced last year for the first year the California Crown, which is in September. That's a showcase of the September meet, and that takes place of what the Awesome Again used to be, a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup. So that has been one of the placeholders for first racing, have been these marquee events, because no one's coming to the track anymore on just a Friday.
Yeah.
It's just not happening. People want events to go to and they want big occasions. And if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always interesting to see what racetracks and organizations are doing to try to bring the younger fan back into the.
And you need it.
Yeah, because there's so many sporting opportunities and entertainment. You know, they go to a baseball game or a basketball game or a hockey game, and you know, horse racing has always been perceived as, you know, more or less for the stoogey or the ultra wealthy, and it's sometimes perceived as boring because there's so much time between the races.
Right.
But until you know, and you start studying the pedigrees and you start understanding all the horsemen and horsewomen and the background story and all that goes into training these athletes, that's when I think, starting to have appreciation for it.
But it's fun. We just do a piss poor job of marketing it. And that's always been the case. And we just need to do better, because I've brought people to the track and they're like, oh, you know, this is fun. But the one question is, what are we waiting for? Why isn't there a race every 10 minutes? A good friend of mine who sadly passed away came up with an idea a while ago. And he's like, why don't we have match race Sunday? Everyone complains about short fields. You just need 2 horses per race. I'm like, well, Peter's not really going to go for a match race. But, you know, conceptually, it's a good idea because people bet football. There's only 2 teams. Why not just 2 horses?
Yeah, you could run them quicker. I mean, if you could just bring them out there and don't have to worry about all the other things. I'll tell you one thing, match racing, and you're probably familiar with this in the quarter horse world, match racing is huge. Now, it's not sanctioned, it's not recognized, and there's a lot of bad things that go along with it because a lot of the folks who participate in it, since they have no rules and regulations, are doing all sorts of all sorts of illegal medications that we would consider illegal, unfortunate accidents and injuries, et cetera, et cetera. So it has a bad reputation. We've seen it. The Hispanic culture is huge into it. They utilize a racetrack right here in our hometown that draws tens of thousands of fans, and they each pay $100 to get in. And this is it. It brings in so much more revenue than the actual sanctioned quarter horse races that we have that are put on by an association that's sanctioned by the AQHA. So it's just something that I think, as you mentioned, that it's exciting because it's one-on-one competition, and you can have a race about every 10 minutes. You saddle them.
It's just
you go
not very good for the horses,
I
unfortunately.
know. It's sad for the
It's
horses
just-
because you have a
yeah.
retired gelding or one
I
you don't
hate
need
it.
anymore. You're going to get more money from match racers than anybody else. So
Yeah.
some people aren't in the position to sell it for a second career for 10,000 versus the
No
50
good.
that you might get from match racers. It's sad.
Maybe regulations would come in, but I think if they did that in the thoroughbred industry, of course they'd still have some regulations overseeing it.
You'd have to have a lot of regulations, something like you have to go slow the first part, so you're just not absolutely going half a left. There could be some way around it. It would take a while, but it was, it was one of his
race
thoughts.
with what was it, Seabiscuit and War Admiral. I mean, some of those things are historic events, like just one horse against another. So I mean, it'd be fun to do it. And you weren't around, but years ago, but this was back when I was riding, but they had a match race of a quarter horse against a thoroughbred that was ran at Hollywood Park, and it was an 870 horse, one of the best 870 horses.
And the thoroughbred won, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Griswold versus and people are watching this are going to be screaming at me because I can't remember the thoroughbred's name. But the quarter horse got beat just right on the end, right at the last couple of jumps.
Well, the most famous one ended in tragedy, and that was Ruffian.
Oh, right.
So a lot of people, when you mention match race, are ultimately thinking of that, and that did not end well.
Correct. Yeah, that was sad, and I hope that we can overcome that stigma, because I think there's been a whole lot of match races that didn't end in tragedy. I mean, you never know what can happen in racing, and it's unfortunate. And I know everyone's trying to monitor accidents and prevent them, because it seems like every time there is an unfortunate accident with a horse, the media takes off and runs with it. And then of course you have the PETA folks and all that stuff trying to shut racing down permanently.
It's been much safer though since the advent of HISA. It's been much, much better. I think it was 0.9 per thousand, which is the lowest it's ever been. So
now, what do you
we're really
attribute
making
that to,
big
Zoe?
strides.
What do you think is the biggest factor with HISA? I mean, and of course, those who don't know HISA, horse, I can't even remember the acronym, what it stands for.
Racing Safety and Integrity Act.
Yeah, Integrity Act, something like that.
And most tracks across the U.S. have adopted it. There are certain states that have not, like Louisiana. But at the HISA tracks, the safety is first and foremost basically for the horses. And it started here in Southern California with the veterinary oversight and the vets checking the horses in the morning, jogging them down the road, making sure they're okay to run. And it got a bit of backlash to begin with, because, no trainer wants to be told what to do with their horse, but it's working. So the numbers, the fatalities have really improved leaps and bounds. So that's great.
Yeah, and I know the fans don't want to see those kind of accidents. It's pretty horrific to watch. The jockeys, I'm sure, don't want to have it. Now, occasionally, I would imagine there is a horse that's scratched that may have been unnecessary, but just like going through airport screening at the airport, we all do it because we're trying to prevent that one,
right?
Serious problem that no one wants to deal with. So yeah, it's just everybody understands what we're trying to do and we're trying to accomplish. Safety of the horse is number one, first and foremost. I had a few bad accidents in my career. How about you? Did you have anything?
I think the worst thing I had, I broke my pelvis after I've been riding for just 6 weeks, but that mended on its own. And I had 6 weeks off and got right back to it. I broke my leg a few years later at Hollywood Park, just galloping horses. And that was a bit more traumatic. I had to have surgery on that. But nothing, lots of broken things, but nothing major, no major surgeries. I was pretty lucky.
You have any spills, like horses go down during a race?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I got
walked away
up
from
for the
it.
most part. Yeah. I was lucky.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
lucky.
I had several of those and walked away from some accidents could have been seriously devastating. I had a few of my friends who I saw go down like that who were permanently paralyzed as a
Oof.
result. And one of my
Yeah.
good friends was killed going down right after the finish line. Horse went down with him, broke his neck, and that was the end of it. It certainly is not a sport without accident. It's just part of it, I think. Tell us how you got into the line of work you're in now. Was it always available to you, or just as you started thinking about a career after riding?
So I was at Arlington Park, one of my favorite racetracks ever. God rest its soul. And I just quit riding. I got married. I'm now happily divorced. I'm delighted to say. That didn't last very long, so that was good. And I was walking my dog, actually. I was walking my dog. It was about lunchtime. And I was walking along. I don't know where I was, somewhere in Chicago. I stopped in and had a beer with the dog. And then the TV guy from Arlington had called me. And he's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm walking the dog, drinking a beer." "Oh, great. We just hired this TV girl and she's drunk on set. Is there any chance you can come in tomorrow and just give it a go? Because she's got to go." It's like, "Just make sure you're not drinking when you come in." I'm like, "Sure, I'll give it a go." So I went in the next day, no beer, and it started from there. So that was Arlington. And I did a few years doing the paddock at Arlington and went backwards and forwards to California. And then showed up in California, I think 2009, full time, and went to Amy Zimmerman at HRTV at the time and asked her for a job. And she was like, "Yeah, well, we might have something else for you." So I did the graphics and worked on the computer for a couple of years, and then they finally gave me a go.
So how many media organizations are out there? Because I always kind of lose track. They change names so often, but is it still TVG?
It's now FanDuel.
FanDuel.
So FanDuel's the number one. They swallowed HRTV. So if you're wanting to watch horse racing on TV, you either watch FanDuel or you watch Fox Sports because they cover the New York racing. So in the summertime, if you want to watch racing from Saratoga, which is where I go every summer, you watch it on Fox Sports. If you want to watch racing from Del Mar, you watch it on FanDuel. Those are your two main. And then obviously NBC does the Derby and the Triple Crown events.
Do you ever do work for FanDuel?
Pardon?
Do you do any work for FanDuel?
A little bit. And I've done some freelance stuff for them. I can do it from home, covering the racing from the UK.
So with your role right now, you're working at Santa Anita or for Santa Anita, I guess, not the exact name of the company, but you do the kind of the pre-race discussions and help people analyze the races.
Exactly. It's what you see on the TV. It's the pre-race, the interviews, the post-race, stuff like that. And then we shoot works in the mornings from not only Santa Anita Park, but also Florida. So if you go to First TV, you could punch in any horse's name, say that's working towards the Derby, and more than likely you'll find at least one work on there. It's a great tool to use.
Mm-hmm. First TV, is that an app as well?
Not yet. No, but you can just go to firsttv.com and there'll be works. I go to New York in the summertime and just do morning work for First TV, and we shoot works at Saratoga. So
you guys are probably pretty hot and heavy right now with all the horses leading up to Kentucky Derby and keeping an eye on horses.
Yeah, it's fun. We've got the Santa Anita Derby coming up on April the 5th, I do believe. Is it 5th or is it the 6th? Hold on.
The first
Fifth
Saturday,
of this
right?
Saturday.
Yeah, it's the first racing tour. Santa Anita Derby, Fasig-Tipton, Santa Anita Oaks, the Monrovia, the Kettle One, the Echo Eddy, and the Evening Jewel. So that'll be fabulous.
Now, for years, we came out and watched the Santa Anita Derby, and then there's the Santa Anita 5K run.
Yeah, that's in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't run anymore, so I'm not going to be running, but I'm going to walk it. They're giving away a fabulous medal, which is actually really cool. So, a medal, yes,
Just
for doing the walk.
Right? You don't have to win to get it.
No, it's just participation. It's all about participation.
Nice.
And you finish on the training track, which is kind of cool. And, you know, anytime you can walk through the Arboretum is pretty awesome.
I love it. We ran it. I probably ran that 5K maybe 4 years in a row.
Were you fast?
Yeah, I'm pretty fast. Yeah, I'm dangerously fast. Yeah, I was right up in there, top 10%.
All right.
Oh boy,
it's true. It's a true story. I've ran, I don't know, hundreds of races. I actually have ran the Boston Marathon 4 times.
Oh my God!
I ran 100-mile.
An ultra marathon.
Ultra marathon through the mountains here.
Oh, that sounds like hell.
Yeah, well, you know, it is, but it's a hell of what you have in your mind.
So what kind of time do you run an ultra marathon in?
The time?
Mm-hmm.
It took me 33 hours, but I stopped, you know, I was on target for probably a sub, it was easily a sub 30, but I stopped at mile 75 and it was like 2 in the morning. Oh. And we'd been running since 5 morning, you know, the previous morning. And I was so tired. They just said, just lay down on this cot right here. We'll get you some warm soup. And I lay down and I was out within like 10 seconds. I was asleep. And my wife was there with me. Some of them were pacing me. And she just felt so bad for me. They wouldn't wake me up. So it was like, I slept.
Oh, so now you're blaming them?
Yeah, I'm blaming them. I'm pissed. My time was all that mattered. But it was 3 hours I slept. And I didn't even know. I woke up and I felt like I just barely laid down. Anyway, got back up and finished it. So it ended up being 33 hours. But I couldn't walk after that for a long time.
I bet.
Was a tough test.
What was your best time for the Boston Marathon? Because you have to qualify.
My best time over there was 3 hours and 14 minutes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's running. I ran the San Francisco one once. I decided I was going to do one marathon, so I did San Francisco. My buddy's like, why would you pick San Francisco? It's the hilliest place ever.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was fun.
How many have you done? Just that one?
That was it. I did it. I trained for 6 months and I did it in 3.5 hours.
Nice.
So
that's terrific.
Yeah.
Just for your first one?
That was it. One and done.
Well, yeah, you have to kind of have a little bit of a disease in your head to keep going. But I did that for a while. You know, after I quit riding, I needed something. I needed something else to do. I put on, I don't know, I was down really thin when I was riding. I finished my career out in California, but I was maybe 110. I got down all the way to 106 pounds. For me, that's super light. And I got into this line of work, financial services, and the company I got hired on with, Payne Weber, was out of Long Beach, and they sent me back to New Jersey. This is where they had the broker training, they called it. And I was there for 3 weeks. And all I remember is the food would never stop. They kept bringing out cart after cart of food for us in these classrooms. And I was there for 3 weeks, and I put on 20 pounds in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty scary, the transition and transformation. So I started running just as a way to get my health back, and I ran a lot for a long time. Now I just do CrossFit.
Okay.
You go to the gym at all?
I do a little bit of yoga and a thing called bar method. And I ride my bike. I have a road bike that I ride around here, avoiding the crazy lunatics on the roads. And I hike a lot. So I stay active. I don't really like going to the gym.
You don't like it?
Not really.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Do you like Monrovia area?
I love Monrovia. Sorry,
Getting your
if anyone's
breakfast in?
listening, I'm just eating breakfast.
Well,
It's nice, it's quiet.
Mhm.
Back onto the foothills, which was hell during the fires, but it's nice now. So it's lovely.
Peaceful area. I
Mhm.
liked it. There's mountains close by, so you can see those.
We can't get up there at the moment because of the mudslides and the fires and everything else, but
Oh.
they're nice to look at.
Yeah. Yeah. So who do you think of horses you've seen so far for the Derby? Is there anything standing out that you like that you think has a pretty legitimate shot? I know
You
it's
have to
pretty
like
early still.
Yeah, well, you have to like journalism.
Mm-hmm.
For Michael McCarthy. Citizen Bull, I mean, he hasn't been tested yet. We'll see what he does next weekend or in a couple of weeks. The horse why wouldn't you like the horse coming out of Arkansas? Coal Battle.
Yeah.
Alani Briley, the 77-year-old conditioner who'd never won a graded stakes. So you got to root for him, right? Do you know him?
I know him a little bit, not very well.
Yeah. So
what about old Wayne Lucas?
Wayne will be there.
He's got one coming up.
His horse looked good winning in Virginia, 91 by a speed figure. So it's not like he's going to set the world on fire. Visually impressive, but was a terrible race. He won, but he'll be there.
Yeah.
Be cool. Horse racing is all about stories, right? So
I love the stories. Yeah. And I just did a presentation to a group of high school students a couple of weeks ago, and it was about overcoming adversity and, never doubting yourself. And I showed a video of Mind That Bird winning in 2009. And of course, no one gave him any kind of shot.
Right.
Little horse coming in and, flying through on the rail with Calvin Burrell.
Yeah.
It
very
was
cool.
Cool story.
Yeah. Did you ever see the movie they made about him?
Yeah, and I wasn't impressed. I'm sorry, but that movie was shitty.
It was terrible. Oh my God, it was so bad. They even got the colors of the horses wrong.
I know.
Not that
The
hard.
acting was really, really bad.
Yeah, it was terrible.
They haven't had a good race movie for a while.
Not since Casey's Shadow, I don't think.
That's the one. Casey's Shadow is the one with Lloyd Burdell, Walter Matthau. He owned that role, and I watched that movie at least 100 times when I was growing up.
Really?
Oh, I told those students, I said, that's how you visualize the future you want, is you put something in your mind and you just keep reiterating, thinking about it, never doubting for a moment that could become a reality for you. And so when I rolled into Ruidoso Downs that first day to go in there to exercise horses, it was so surreal because I'm looking down from the road at the racetrack that you see as those guys are pulling in that little 2-horse trailer for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's amazing, the thing and the winner's circle and the racetrack and the whole deal. It was really cool to have it happen for me. Yeah.
I'm curious. You mentioned you go to these sales, you help pick out yearlings. What do you look for?
A lot. I mean, athletes, to be perfectly honest, but the pedigree has an awful lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how much you're willing to spend. If you're, spending $50,000, you're probably going to look for more of an athlete than the pedigree. But it's always good to have some black type. You're not looking for a 20-year-old mare who's had 10 foals. None of them have done anything. They're all claimers. Would be a definite no-no. But generally athletes, and we bought some good ones over the years. So for some money as well, and then some for not so much money. We bought a Grade 1 winner, Miss Charlotte Ray, for $30,000. Storm the Court was a 2-year-old champ. He was, how much was he? I can't remember. 50? He was a $5,000 weanling, $1,000 weanling. So him, Corniche, champion 2-year-old collected, Roadster, a lot of horses in New York as well. So it's fun. The 2-year-old sales to me are more fun because you get to see how they actually move on the track as well, which is a big plus. But the yearlings are fun, and the weanlings they're hard to look at because they're just all so cute.
Yeah. Got to kind of picture what they're going to be as they start maturing. Boy,
Yeah,
sometimes those
you have to
Disney
have
training
some
sales are
vision.
neat. What was that,
Yeah.
Zoe?
You have to have some vision
Yes.
of,
Yeah.
of what you think. I work closely with Marette Farrell, and she actually pinhooked an Independence Hall colt. So she paid 30 for him, pinhooked him, sold him for 167 last September, which, was good. Made money. Everyone made money. Then Eddie Woods buys him. And from September to March, which isn't that long, he sells him for $1 million at the March sale that just went by. So we're like, oh, should she kept hold of him?
That's
You never
brutal.
know. Yeah. But,
Amazing.
everyone made money. So what are you going to do?
You can't look back. I put a little story in my latest book about the horse named Green Monkey.
Oh, yeah.
What he sold for is in
Randy,
$17 million or something crazy.
16.
Never even won a race. There's some crazy stories about what happens, and then the great stories are the ones where they go unnoticed, and they sell really cheap, like the one you mentioned before, become superstars. I like those ones, especially.
Yeah. The underdogs, those are always fun.
Yeah. Rich Strike was another fun one to watch.
Oh, wasn't he?
That was awesome. That
He'll finally get to stand at stud. I think they're gonna try to stand him in Kentucky. He should be a regional sire, but what are you gonna do?
The difference watching that race was the announcer with Mind That Bird didn't even know Mind That Bird was
In the
alive.
race.
But
Right.
Rich Strike, he saw him coming, and it was cool to see him yell Rich Strike right at the wire. It was got me fired up.
It
He
gives
didn't even-
everyone
he didn't
hope,
even know
right?
Mind That Bird was in the race. It was like nearly after he was finished.
Yeah, and it gives everyone hope that it could happen to anyone.
Who do you think are some of the top jocks, the young up and coming riders out there?
Out here, I mean, obviously we've got Pratt, but he's hardly up and coming anymore. He's just won the Eclipse Award. In my mind, he's the best rider in the country. So that's not going to surprise anybody. It's a tough colony out here now, and there's a lot of jocks. Pratt would be the top. We've got JJ Hernandez. It's right here. Kyle Frey's having a quietly good meet. It helps, apparently, if you come to Southern California and you've got an accent. That helps. Freysu's doing very well. Frankie Dettori, when he's here, he does very well. Umberto Rispoli, like I said, the accent helps, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing very well. So it's a good colony. It really is. Kent DeSomos started to win races again.
Who?
Kent.
He's riding again.
Again.
He goes and comes back all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So we'll see how long he lasts this stint for. I'm not sure.
Few demons, during his life, but very talented.
They're still there.
When I was riding, that was an extremely good group of people. And when I came out, it was hard to get a mount. Period. You had McCarran, Delahousie, Binkai, you had Nakatani, you had, let's see, my God, there were so many good riders.
Gary Stevens, Mike Smith.
Yes, yep.
Those are the golden years. They'll never have those again.
It was. Who else am I thinking? Oh God. It was the one that died. Renee Douglas, who was paralyzed, he was there too.
Yeah.
And then, not Corey. Who's the one that died? No, I can't think of his name. Really good rider. I don't know. I'll think of it in a minute.
Yeah.
But anyway, times change and riders changed, colonies, horsemen. You see some trainers going hard and then they kind of fade away. I hope that racing can keep thriving in California. It's such a great destination. We went to Del Mar last year, watched the Breeders' Cup races. I'm sure you were there.
I was there. Yeah, it was fun.
Same venue again this year?
Del Mar, yeah. One more year at Del Mar, and then I believe it comes back here. I think. Don't quote me. Breeders' Cup is always fun.
Yeah. So how about owning any horses? Have you ever done that yourself?
Yeah, I'm horse poor for the most part, most of the time. That's why I don't send you guys enough money.
Everybody always thinks they can do it with horses, you know?
No, I finally bred a winner. Got a winner in Japan the other day.
Wow, your horses in Japan?
Well, they bought her and took her to Japan. So she won a race. She broke a maiden, Song Collector, daughter of Collected. So that was good.
So you own the mare?
We gave her. She was useless.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, she's somebody's riding horse right now. We bred a lot of beautiful looking show horses out of her that wouldn't vet. Came in with wonky heads, just a long laundry list. That was the only one that ever made it to the races. So I'm too soft. I don't want to just breed horses and have them wind up somewhere horrible. I have to follow them, rescue them.
Yeah.
It's not a good proposition for me.
That brings another question to my mind. What is the typical transition for a horse that maybe just can't cut it on the racetrack? What do owners do with them in the thoroughbred world?
Oh, it depends, really. I mean, a lot of owners in the thoroughbred world might put their horse, if it's running, up for a tag and be like, "Ooh, let's just get rid of it." I personally can't do that. Because I don't want some asshole having my horse and doing bad things to it. So I would rather give them away. I have a girl who's got a couple of mine as show horses, and they're doing really well.
So you basically give them away. You're not really, there's not really.
You're not going to make any money, no.
Yeah.
No.
But they do jumping and things like that with them after.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thoroughbreds are super smart. You can do anything with a thoroughbred. You could team pen, you can rope off them, you could jump them, you name it, you can do it. They're therapy horses. You know, they're amazing animals.
Now, Zoe, have you ever owned a quarter horse? Because if we're going to talk about amazing animals, we're going to talk about quarter horses.
I have not. I've ridden a few.
Okay.
And they're very cool. But no.
Well, get out here and we'll get you on one, and then we'll go roping, and we'll see what you think.
I've tried the reining and the sliding stop, and I rode one time with the flag. I was chasing the flag. Almost fell off. That thing was so quick.
That's the cutting, yeah.
Cutting.
Cow cutting.
Yeah, that's
fun. How they train them. Is they chase? They have a mechanical flag.
The guy just told me, he's like, just hold on, just hold on, and then he turned on the flag, and I almost fell off.
They're quick. Yeah. That's all we raise pretty much is the quarter horses, and we race them, but then we rope too. There's always that after racing career type of an opportunity for them. Barrel horses. That's big. People into the barrel world, and then roping, and then of course cutting. So there's always something we find. But we're glad that you're able to join us today. We thought that would be cool to have you on and talk a little bit about where you came from, your background. You ever gonna go back to South Africa, or is that not even in your plan?
No, we only lived there till I was about 6. My parents moved back to England. So both my parents are very much alive. They live in the south of England in Somerset. My dad just turned 80. I took him surfing for his 80th birthday last summer.
Wow.
So that was fun. Mum still rides every day. So I doubt I'll go back to England, but it's nice to visit.
Sure. Good for them. Temporary stop and then back. But I have never been to England, so it's something on my bucket list.
You should definitely go.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
But I'll have to get some tips from you before I do that. I'm a little bit nervous.
Not a problem.
Yeah. I'd like to go visit some of those yards.
Yeah, you should get to Ireland, go to Coolmore. It's fabulous.
Coolmore. There's a lot of money in some of those places. I mean, it's insane.
Newmarket it's a whole horse town. You wouldn't see anything like it. You've got 30 horses, nose to tail, going down the high street every day.
I was in France, and I did go to Longchamp one.
Oh, you went Shanti?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
They had a big day there. I can't remember what it was called. I don't know. You guys have some different.
Arc de Triomphe?
Probably, yes.
Yeah. You went to the Arc.
Watched, all those guys. Even that was back when Cash Asmussen was still there, and Frankie Dettori, of course.
It's probably raining.
Yeah, I think it was. But a great place.
October in Shanti, definitely raining.
I think so. Cool place, but yeah, I'll get to England one of these days. But until then, we're gonna stay with the quarter horses and stuff we know. That's what I always tell investors. Stick with what you know. Don't be diving around in things that look good, but it's a sizzle in a pan.
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, anyway, thanks for joining us today, Zoe. It was great having you. Everybody listening out there, thanks for tuning in. This has been Zoe Cadman, our special guest. Watch her on all the horse racing. So it's great to see her. If you go to Santa Anita, she'll be out there near the paddock, and she'll tell you what to bet on. Thanks for joining us. Catch you again next time.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Make me some money.
Send us some more in here, okay? Takes money to make money. That's what they always say.
I'm horse poor.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Thank you for listening. For more information about today's show, please check out the show notes. Visit our website at www.petersonws.com or give us a call at 801-475-4002. Peterson Wealth Services is a registered investment advisor. This is a paid-for advertisement. Information presented on this program is believed to be factual and up-to-date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of a personalized investment advice, but are limited to the dissemination of general information. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the options presented. Peterson Wealth Services.